Well, hello, and welcome to the Boboleros YouTube channel. Happy New Year. Can't believe it's here, 2024, and I'd like to welcome you. We have a chock-filled podcast today, and it'll be some knitting content, but I want to do it a little bit as a launch pad for wonderful good things for the new year. I've been resetting myself and getting some new things into my life, new habits to set the tone for a new year. So I'd like to share those with you and just talk about getting a new tone set for the year. I do think that tone is so important to set it just right and keep it every day and see amazing things happen in the new year. So that's my wish for you all, that you have the most amazing year ever. And I'd like to thank you for being on this podcast, for listening. This is the Boboleros YouTube channel, and we talk about mostly knitting, but also inspiration from the world of fine arts, classical music, and fashion, and other random drippings from the brain pan that do occur. So welcome. So let's talk about setting the tone for the new year. I have heard a lot of people talking about the concept of open doors in 2024. And that is a concept that really resonated with me. It's one that I was so inspired by that I went ahead and created a new colorway, which I'm wearing right now. I'll talk to you about that in a second. There's a story behind this. An open door to new possibilities. An open door for dreaming bigger dreams and being wild in your pursuit of them and knowing that they will come to pass. Now, I want to thank you all, because talking about dreams coming true, you guys might have remembered in my last podcast, or the previous one before that I had spoken to you about going through a little bit of a season where I was hit by some unexpected things, like my best friend Mark, who is also my piano tuner. He got really sick and almost died.
Sound more relaxed the whole piano, isn't it? The higher tune is working so hard.
Yeah, no. I mean,
Yes, unnaturalness about it.
We're feeling a sense of repose, but it's not the piano, it's the vibrations themselves that are making us feel like that.
And I want to thank you all for your prayers, for your good wishes, because the dream came true. He did get released from the hospital last week. So this is so major, and something that I really feel I want to celebrate in my heart with pouring some good things out into the world, namely art, music, knitting, some inspiration, because you guys are so incredible, and something big like that I think deserves a response on a big level too. So anyway, thank you so much for making that dream come true. Also, my mom is feeling 100% better. She also got really sick during Thanksgiving. It was so random, and now she's back to her old self. So that is such good news. So thank you. And speaking about setting the tone, and one of the things that my friend Mark does when he comes to tune my piano is set the string and set the pin. And I think that's a really cool metaphor for embarking on this new year, because the minute that a piano is tuned and you tune the piano strings, there are 88 keys on this piano, and each of the keys has 3 strings. So when you are tuning a piano, in essence, most of the time you're tuning something like 88 times 3 strings and pins. So that is a lot of repetitive effort. It's kind of like for us knitters, like doing a shawl and having that, you know, final, you know, stretch where you've got like something like 400 something stitches and it takes you forever to get from the beginning to the end of the row. That's how it feels tuning a piano, I think, because I've tried it a few times. I'm not good at it, but I always think like I'm dropped in the middle of the ocean and will I ever be able to make it to shore? That's how it feels like to tune a piano, because you're like in the middle of it, you can't leave it, there's nowhere to go, because now you've got a completely out of whack instrument, and now you're thinking like, I've got all these miles yet of pins and strings to tune. But here's the whole point, is that once you set the tone and you get the pitch right by using a hammer, and you put the tuning hammer on the pin, and you literally have to adjust it, turn it until it gets into just the right place. But then that's not enough. You gotta set it. And the way you set it is like you play a note quite loudly so that the string really starts vibrating and it shoots this, it's a shot of energy through the string, and that's how it's set. It reminds me of when the new year comes and we make resolutions and we say, oh, okay, it's a new year, I'm going to get started on X, Y, and Z. And it's a great concept, but then it's the setting of that new habit. I heard that it takes something like 30 days to set a new habit. And so you've got to like set the string so that it stays in the groove and you stay on that path. So I've kind of incorporated into my life 3 new habits that I already feel are setting a new tone for my life, a more intentional tone. And if that's something that you feel you resonate with, wanting to live and create through your knitting in a more intentional way, I think we can talk about that today and, you know, get to a point where we are ready to make the change, and not only make the change, but set it. Like Ron Popeil used to say, set it and forget it. And I bought all his products, set it and forget it. Okay, so to set the tone for a new year, I'd like to do a giveaway to thank you for this blockbuster year for Boboleros. It was 2023 was really the launch of this brand, which was in my heart for a long time. I didn't think I could actually figure out all the ins and outs of doing it. It was so overwhelming at first. It still is not easy, but I definitely feel more inspired and confident and happy to have made it to this point. And I have to thank you all for that, because you've supported the brand, you've supported me, you've been just so loving, and I am so grateful to you all. So I'd like to start the new year with a giveaway for a kit to make this shrug. It's actually called the Barbie Bubble Wrap, and here it is. It is made in a new colorway, which is a cameo colorway. Cameo color is a new concept for Boboleros, which is a one-of-a-kind offering that is available for a limited time, and it's for the month of January. This is the cameo color, kind of like a cameo appearance, like, you know, Marlene Dietrich is making a cameo appearance on Bonanza or whatever. I don't know if she ever did, probably not. But anyway, a cameo of this color, which is Wild Orchid. And there's a whole story behind this color, which is also an intention that I hope to share with you, that I will share with you. And I really hope that it blesses you, because this Wild Orchid is a color that changed my life, quite literally changed my life when I was knitting with this shade long ago in 2006, and I'll tell you that story in a second. It was a life-changing moment for me. So back to the giveaway. So the giveaway is for all the yarn you need to make this, and this is in the kit is 4 skeins of the Wild Orchid in a new yarn base, which is called Zebra, and it is a worsted base. And it's also held with a strand of the Vivian mohair, which is a brushed mohair, DK weight. And this bubble wrap pattern, I did something a little different. If you guys are familiar with the Barbie Bubble Wrap, which I designed, I have all 3 versions included in the pattern. And the pattern is available on Ravelry and on the Boboleros website. And so the 3 versions really are the difference between making it in 4 colors and just a straight tube, like there's no shaping. The second version involves shaping and a 1 color, it's 2 colors. So there's 1 color that defines these bubbles. And so that has a bit of shaping and an optional turtleneck. And then the third version is the one I made here with 1 change. The third version is a 1 color option, and it has a bit of shaping on the shoulders so that you don't have to worry about it, sliding. So I really like that, and I think it's just really super elegant, and you can dress it up, dress it down. It's like a hug, and it's so squishy and warm, and this color, I think it's supernatural. It's kind of, I don't know, it's called Wild Orchid for a reason, because sometimes you see this color in flowers and nature, and when you do, it packs such a punch. I feel knitting with it, I felt constantly like I was entering another realm, a world of just incredible possibilities and love and blessing and abundance. And it was a really powerful experience. And then I thought about the story which inspired this color, and it kind of came full circle. So to win this giveaway, all you have to do is answer the question in the comments below. And the question is, what is your idea of setting the tone for the new year? One thing. Is it a new habit? Is it a deeper sense of intentionality, either in your knits or in other areas of your life? Is it a word? Whatever it is, I'd love to hear, and you could share that in the comments below, and you'll receive the full kit. And also I want to show you something that I discovered which goes with this. It's so cute. This wonderful tea that I got. I have this fabulous Korean grocery store not far from my area called H Mart, and oh my gosh, it is my new favorite place. And this is hydrangea tea from Korea. And then I learned about some of the benefits and meaning of the purple color in hydrangeas. For instance, in the Japanese culture, hydrangeas that are purple represent elegance, abundance, sincerity, gratitude. And those are definitely feelings and intentions that I would love to bring to the new year. So this hydrangea tea is kind of like a reminder of the elegance that is in you, the reminder of the abundance and gratitude feelings that are so abundant around us. So that's going to be included in the giveaway. Hydrangea, it's so delicious. When I saw this in the store, I was just drawn to it because I never heard of hydrangea tea. I love hydrangeas. I mean, don't we all? They're so beautiful. But then to learn that there's a tea, I was like, what? And it's so good. I mean, sometimes teas, like I have to say, when I hear about like flower teas, I sometimes am disappointed that the flavor isn't so strong, but this is different. It really has a lovely sweet flavor to it, and it's caffeine free. So there you go. That's the giveaway prize. So, all right, back to setting the tone, setting the stage. So let me just tell you this quick story in the hopes that it'll inspire you. This is a story about magic everywhere. Now, I don't like that term so much, magic, because sometimes it's associated with weird, spooky things. I don't mean it that way. I just mean it in the sense of awe and wonder at the connectivity of everything and how things are really divinely inspired if you choose to see life that way. So back in 2006, I mentioned this story many times. I probably won't get into the details of it, but my daughter Maya was 3 years old and she had a tragic accident. She's okay now. But at that moment, it was like shocking because she was fine. She was a healthy kid. And then literally in the blink of an eye, she had an accident and was covered in burns, 2/3 of her body, in 2nd and 3rd degree burns. And so the prognosis was not very good. They said, the doctors, that she would need multiple skin graft surgeries, that she would never be able to have full mobility in her arm, and that she would be permanently scarred. Now, the burns happened to be from her chin down to her knees, so it really was covering most of the front of her body. And it was like one of the most shocking moments of when you realize that life could change on a dime. And I was a real type A control freak at that time. Really, really problematic was my need to control situations. And that's when I realized, holy cow, I have absolutely no control over my life. And that's when I decided to give the steering wheel over to God. I said, I can't, like, this is nothing. This is like beyond my reach. And so a lot of prayer came into my life through people that really had a great heart for helping, and they believed that Maya could be healed. And it was new to me. I was really not understanding all these concepts. Fast forward, it's 3 months later. Maya is doing a lot better, and I realize that these wounds are healing way faster than was ever expected. The doctors are really floored and shocked. And I realized that the prayer was the thing that moved this mountain. And now it's 3 months later, and I can't really wrap my head around it. I'm still freaked out. I'm still trying to control things. I'm still in a state of chaos and spiritual bankruptcy in my mind and heart, and I was a real mess. But at the same time, I knew something happened, and it was like something so cataclysmic to shift the frequency from where it was to something completely higher, into another realm of living. And I couldn't quite figure out how to make that jump in my heart. So there I am. It's a November day, and I wasn't used to getting on planes alone at that point in my life because I had little kids. But I had to go and do a piano thing, performance thing, on the West Coast. And so I boarded a plane from New Jersey, and I'm on this plane. And I was like, you know how you have the 3 seats on the side where you have the aisle seat, you have the middle seat, and you have the window seat, and like all the way in the back in economy. So that's where I was, in the middle seat. And I'm a person that always has to go to the bathroom on planes. So I'm getting up like twice an hour And so I was just in a really like bad mood because the person that had the aisle seat like had a lot of stuff, was kind of like, I don't know, just seemed to take up a lot of space. And I knew that I'd have a hard time like maneuvering to go to the bathroom. And I was already in a bad mood. I was like, this 5-hour trip is going to be a nightmare. And I was just so nasty. So the plane takes off, right? And I'm studying my music. I'm like really nervous about this upcoming thing. And so I felt sort of unprepared. And I'm like, oh my gosh, blah, blah, blah. Finally, I'm like, I gotta just chill out. So I took out my knitting. And I happened to be knitting at the time a scarf that was kind of very similar color to this. It was so similar. And suddenly, the woman to the right of me looks over and says, wow, that is a powerful color you're knitting with. And I was like, that's kind of an unusual remark to make, right? Like, you guys are all knitters, so you're used to like people, if you're knitting in a public place, people say, oh, that's so cool you knit, or what are you knitting, or what's that going to be? But it's very rare for someone to make such a comment about the color and about the meaning of the color. So my curiosity was piqued, and I said, what do you mean? She's like, that color is very powerful. And I said, why? And she said, because it represents royalty. And I said, royalty? The whole concept intrigued me. So I started to ask more. And this person like started to divulge information about the deeper things to me. And over the next 5 hours, I was in tears as this person told me things about my life that there would be no way that this person could have known those things. There's just no way. At some point, she turns to me, this is a total stranger, and says to me, I know what you went through with Maya, and I want you to know it's going to be okay. And I was like, what? How could she have known that? A complete stranger. And that's when I get goosebumps just retelling this story. I realized that, something was happening that was beyond what I could explain. This person was a messenger of some sort. And it was this color that started the conversation. And sometimes when I think about it and I really, really go into my heart, I think perhaps it was even this color that attracted that event. The reason I sometimes do entertain those thoughts is because of the power of frequency, the power of vibration. Because at the essence of all life, if you take a little atom and you break it down to like the tiniest component, you're going to find a vibrating string. So whether we're talking about colors or we're talking about sounds and notes, it's all vibration. And I was doing a little research and I was curious, what is the equivalent? Because sound and color are waves. So they share that in common. And it's really interesting because if you keep going up, and do hear higher frequencies, like if this piano could extend for another mile or so, and those sounds would get higher and higher and higher and higher and higher and higher, eventually it would stop being sound and start being light, which is so cool. On the converse, so that when you think like raise your vibration, higher frequency, that's one reason why, because we actually do enter into the light realm. And on the converse, if you keep going lower and lower and lower and lower, and you keep extending the piano down, and you get into those really, really low frequencies, which we can't even hear anymore, as well as those really high ones. They're outside of the human auditory perspective. But if you keep going lower and lower and lower, eventually you're going to hit such a low frequency that everybody's heart will stop. Isn't that insane? So I was doing research and I realized that this color, a purple color, resonates very closely to the key of F on the piano. And also that F, if you think about the music written in the key of F, one piece that comes to mind is Beethoven's Pastoral Symphony. If you're ever feeling like you want, really get some deeply calming and grounding music, listen to the Pastoral Symphony of Beethoven in the key of F. So it's almost like you could smell the green grass and see the trees in the forest. It is so restorative, and again, that word grounding comes to mind. So this piece I'd like to perform for you is a piece by Robert Schumann in the key of F, this grounding key of F, and it's called Traumerei. My German is so bad. Traumerei, and it's dreaming. And as you listen to this and connect with those grounding frequencies of the key of F and this new opportunity we have in this year, going through whatever difficulties 2023 may have brought, this dream that you have in your heart, and we all have those dreams, whether they're for our creating, whether they're for our family, relationships, our health, whatever is the dream or dreams. I do think that we can proceed with boldness through these open doors at this time and dream those wild dreams and expect that they will come true. So with that, I'd like to offer this musical selection by Robert Schumann, Dreaming. gosh, Robert Schumann, what a composer, such imagination. He was so influenced, inspired by poetry, by the literature of writers like E.T.A. Hoffman. He created his own writing, Schumann himself. He was just brilliant, but one of the things is that he paints such gorgeous, exquisite pictures with sound. So, with that said, let's go into the three things, how we can keep our frequency set. Set it and forget it this year, because I don't know about you, but I could start the day off really well and then it gets worse and worse and I find myself like spinning out. Whatever happens, like, you know, things creep up during the day, things you didn't like plan for, and then suddenly it's really easy to like lose your tone, just like that string. So anyway, I apologize. I know this is kind of like a little bit different kind of podcast. So let me actually just talk about this knit first, and then we're going to go into the three things that I'm doing. Maybe you want to join me with that. We can talk about it. A few people have already started doing this with me, which I think is so fun, because it's like a rising tide lifts all ships. So it's so much better when we can like get into a new practice together. So anyway, but let me just talk about this knit a quick minute, because again, it was just fun and easy, and I just want to get a little further into some of the mods I made with this pattern. So like I said, this is made with actually four skeins of the zebra worsted. But here's the deal. I was literally holding 3 strands at a time of the zebra, and I held 1 of the Vivian. So altogether, I was working with 4 strands. Now, that was kind of something that I thought would be cumbersome, because if you've ever held 3 or more strands together, 2 is not a problem. But when you start going into 3 or 4, what usually happens is one of those strands will like at some point like fall off the needle, and now suddenly you don't even, like, this happens sometimes where you don't even realize that you're knitting with, you know, instead of 4 strands, 3 strands, and now you're like, what happened? You know, it's possible that it could be a little bit of a yarn management problem, but I didn't find that with this. Maybe it's because the thickness of the zebra, maybe that, I don't know, but I did not run into any problems whatsoever. The bubble stitch is essentially just a knit. So you're going round and round and round knitting for most of the time. And when you get into the bubble stitch, you're just dropping down, laddering down, and re-knitting the drop stitch. And so that is only every 6th row for this pattern. So super easy. Now, the difference between this bubble wrap and some of the other ones that you've seen in the pattern is that the other ones have like an alteration of the bubble frequency, or like the sequence, I should say, the sequence, right? But here, if you look, all these bubbles are straight down. So shout out to my dear friend Liz, who she said it was kind of an accident in reading the pattern, but it was like so many things, like it was a good accident. It was meant to happen, because that created like a completely different take on the bubble, and I'm really liking it. So here the bubbles, they happen always at the same point in the row. every time you get to that 6th row. So they're aligned, and it's another option to do it this way. So whichever one you'd like to do, you know, I say do what pleases you. But there is a bit of shaping here. I did only a couple of decreased rows, and then I polished it off with a double crochet trim on the bottom and on the top. I want to just show you this double crochet trim here. You see, like there, and on the top here, double crochet. So it just like adds a bit of extra polish, right? So that is it. I did a couple of like styling videos about this, so I'm gonna do more about how you could wear it with different things. Here I'm just wearing it over a dress. Like, this dress is so old. I was cleaning out my closet and I came upon it, and I really thought the color was cool. Anyway, so I like the gray with this. So it goes with anything. Dresses, you could do it with jeans and a t-shirt, over a jacket, over a coat. So anyway, but I have to say, when I wear this color, it's just, I don't know, things happen that are so wonderful. And so anyway, that is my hope, that when you knit anything that you resonate with, that you get the joy of the moment, the experience, and then when you have the final product, you see so many wonderful coincidences happen with that. Like, I have to say, since I started knitting with this color had popped up in my life in so many different ways. One of the ways was I saw a painting, and I flipped out when I saw this painting, and it just spoke to me so deeply. And it was a painting that my friend Grace did. I'm hoping to have her on the channel actually to talk about her painting and inspiration for that. And I'd like to like broaden some of the podcasts to include conversations with other makers, because I do think that it's so rich when we open up the subject of creating and hear inspiration from other fields. So my plan is to have some of my friends first come on to talk about the things that they create and their inspiration. I have a friend who just published, or is having her first novel published, and it's an amazing novel. I read it over the summer. It was phenomenal. And so I'm hoping to have her on the show and teaching her how to knit. So we're going to do like a knit and chat. So yeah, and then having a couple of my friends who do other sorts of arts come on and talk about their inspirations. So yeah, so that's like some of the things that I'm planning to do with this YouTube channel. And another thing that I am going to be doing more of is the music on my margaretwasick.com, opening up the lens to the healing properties and the love message inside classical music, which is a passion of mine. And so stay tuned for that in 2024, and that'll be on my Margaret Wasick channel. But okay, so that's pretty much the story behind this knit. Okay, let's now talk about 3 things that I'm inspired to do this year, and I'm just sharing them. If any of them resonate with you and you want to do them together, great. Now, I did manage only one Vlogmas this December to watch. It was a kind of crazy December, but I loved it. It was so fantastic, and I always tune in for her Vlogmases or their Vlogmases, and I'm talking about Chelsea Yarns. So Christina and Red Bank Mike, and I always get so much inspiration. thanks to their Vlogmas 2 or 3 years ago, I learned finally how to make sourdough bread. I mean, I tried every recipe and came up with crackers. And it was only when I tried the recipe that Red Bank Mike made was I able to finally attain success. And I was ecstatic about it. I made sourdough bread the last time for Christmas. And even though I had so many other things that I made, like I was really like, I went full out with like cookies this year and all sorts of like lasagna, and I did a whole bunch of things that I don't usually like go to this level for. But the only thing people really wanted was the bread. So I should have just left it at the bread. This is Christmas dinner, guys, bread, and everybody would be happy. Anyway, Christina journals a lot, and I love her like journaling videos. It's so funny because her husband calls it crayon corner, and I totally, you know, get it because my husband's always making fun of me too, how I take every area of the house over. And since my kids moved out, essentially, I've just repossessed a lot of spaces for hobbies. My oldest was sleeping over one night and like, it's like, what happened to my room? It's like a whole yarn center now. I said, that's true. Yeah, I took it over. Sorry, not sorry. I mean, come on. What are you supposed to do? So anyway, crayon corner, and I had been journaling pretty much all my life, not to this extent that Christina does, don't get me wrong, but just enough to have some sort of written journal. I get one every year and try to at least, you know, like plan or at least set some vision for the new year. But I'm not really consistent. And this is a problem because I want to be like Christina and have like a finished journal where every page is like got some story to tell, and not like my ridiculous journals where like you see the first month is really going strong, almost every page is got a story to tell, and then like you have 4 months of nothingness, and then you have another month where there's like some story, and then back to nothingness, and then like again it's like a hodgepodge. I don't want that. I want to have like the big juicy journal this year. So I don't know. I was watching, and she does a lot of watercolors, and I thought that's cool, you know, because watercolors, it's kind of fun. I love painting. I'm not very good at drawing, but I do love painting. And so I said, maybe I'll get my watercolors out and like do that, because at least I could like put a color on a page and it'll already have some kind of story to tell. Just the color itself, and like put the pressure down. So maybe I don't have to write my life story, but I could at least put some color on a page. So that's what I did. And so far so good. It doesn't take long. I had some watercolors already in stash, and so I was like, okay. So I'm gonna insert some footage of like my little whatever journaling station setup, so you could see it. So here's the difference this year though. I got my typical Hobonichi for the journaling portion, which is the planning out and you know, planning out the week, and then the daily pages. My idea is not to make it into like a journal as I used to, because it's like one page and sometimes you have more you want to write and sometimes less. So I decided to make it more like the intention of the day or some new thing that I did that day, something that like kind of summarizes the day. And so like sometimes I'll do it like, I'll do yesterday's today, so I could like say, oh, this is what happened yesterday or something like that. Or I'll just do today and say like, this is what my intention is of the day. So whatever, it's flexible, no science. Anyway, so I got that, but then I added 2 more journals into my life. And so, and So one of them is just a regular notebook. I really love the Leuchtturm notebooks. I use them when I used to bullet journal. I use them for planning. I love them because the paper quality is so good. I use one for my piano practice journal. So I have a lot of them, and I like getting new ones for different themes and purposes. So I got one, and this one I'm just setting up to have it as almost like artist pages, like, you know, in Artist's Way, that wonderful book. What's the name of the author? With a C. Campbell? I can't remember no, it's not. Anyway, I'm going to link it below, but the Artist's Way talks about the importance as when you're, especially like for people that create and like to bust through so that you keep the flow of the creative juices going. It's good to just journal for like whatever, a few minutes every day and just write without editing yourself. Just stream of consciousness kind of stuff. So I have a notebook dedicated for this year, and I found those artist pages are an absolute must. There's another thing that I want to share with you that I found it like the essential tool for myself to bust out of like emotional turbulence. Okay, I'm just gonna say it right here, and like if you want to try it, let me know what you think of this. Okay, so it's taken from this book called Radical Forgiveness by Colin Tipping. Okay, the book itself is amazing. I highly recommend this book. It was life-changing for me when I heard about it like 8 years ago. At the end of this book, there is a worksheet, and there's actually a worksheet online of this, and I'm also going to link it below. So in the past 2 months, because of like a lot of weird things were happening and a lot of like emotional things were creeping up, and I was thinking like, why is this bothering me so much? Why is this bothering me so much? And so I decided to do a radical forgiveness worksheet on almost like 5 different themes in my life, like whether it was like a messed up relationship with someone or something that bothered me. And the process of this 2-page worksheet, I've shared this with friends, and they've been like, this has been the best thing that's ever happened. It helps to clear the cache, you know, like how your computer needs to clear the cache. Holy cow, it just like the questions that it asks, and the process of you start as the victim of some situation, and then you leave it as realizing there is no victim, there is no perpetrator, that everything was meant for your growth. Even the things that made you suffer were cosmically meant for your growth. So that really is like one of the things. So I put that also, any kind of radical forgiveness worksheets, I've like put them into this journal as well, because I think it's important to like kind of like for myself to like just see where I was at and how I was able to like move from that point. So that's that. And then the last one I'm keeping is a Bible journal. I'm currently reading the book of Romans, and I have this wonderful version of it. Like it's made by Alabaster, and it's got pictures. It's just beautifully, I like the way that they've designed the formatting of it. And so I've had it for years, but I've wanted to actually go in deeper into the book of Romans, and so I love it so much. I love St. Paul and his whole, the visions he had and what he talks about, sanctification, and it just brings so many deep resonances to the surface. And so I've been finding that really, really incredible and useful. So I just started, and barely out of chapter 1, but even still, like, so my first Bible journaling page, a big theme was fruit. Like that, you know, like the fruit of a tree is indicative to the health of the tree. So like the fruit, the things that we produce in our life is indicative of our inner life. and how healthy that is. So just a good reminder for me, like, to get the year on a good note from that perspective. So yeah, so that's the thing I'm doing. That's one of the major things I'm doing this year. Also, I'm being more intentional. The second thing is being really super intentional with what I am taking in terms of like consuming. And media is one of those things, like Netflix, music, books. Like I'm very particular about music, and but with films and Netflix and all this stuff, it's a slippery slope, because it's so easy to like get caught up in these series, and it's like I'm the type of person that thinks about it all the time, and like I can't shift out. So I am kind of like really trying to make sure that if I'm going to invest my time into something, that it's going to be really giving me something in return. But like, that's not to say like I'm this purist, because I'm so not. Like, I'm now thinking about binge watching this show called The Offer, which was so good. It was about the making of the Godfather movie. It wasn't a documentary, it was like a mini series. It was so good. So anyway, but I just want to make sure that I'm not like falling down that rabbit hole and like forgetting to like be mindful of time. So that's, yeah, so the journaling I'm doing this year, like the mindfulness about, the consuming. And the last thing I want to say is shifting into the power of being married to the intent of your assignment in life. Now, assignment is a very big deal. I do think that we all have a specific assignment, and we know it in our heart, like what that is to do, like dreams, visions, desires that we have. I think they're all linked with this term assignment. Although I know the word assignment feels more like a mission, but I don't mean it in that way. But I mean like more the intentionality of being on purpose. So this year I really am realizing the intensity of my assignment in music and sharing the message inside the music. I had for many years, I'm trained as a classical pianist and performed and recorded, but I always felt like there's a bigger part of the story of classical music that needs to be told, and it's the spiritual connection that classical music has, which is huge. So Mozart, Beethoven, Bach, these guys, I mean, their music creates an atmosphere of beauty, an atmosphere of healing. Like the Mozart effect has been documented, that people just heal better. I have a student, an adult student cardiologist, and she plays my Bach music. I have a Bach recording of Bach's keyboard music, and she plays it for her patients after they've had a heart procedure, and during the operation. And she says that they need less sedation, and I attribute it all to the power of the classical music. Anyhow, I can't explain why. I do think it's because of the pattern, the complexity of the patterns has something to do with it. I think it's the most organized music that exists because of the counterpoint, because of the harmony, because of the fact that it took years and years and years to understand the rules of how to compose music back in those days. This is largely been lost these days. I think, with pop music, it's very immediate, but the tradition of classical music was one that you had to apprentice for a long, long, long time. And there were rules. Like, you couldn't just introduce a huge, what we call dissonance. You couldn't just do like, and just leave that out there without resolving it. Like, you had to resolve. Resolution. And that was connected to energy, because we don't want frantic, chaotic, anxious energy, right? Because even that is the sound an ambulance makes, or some siren or something like that, right? You can't just leave that, according to the tradition. You can't just leave that lingering in the air, because it would make people very, very disturbed. So you have to resolve it. And that was the energetic thrust of music, was all about the establishing of the fact that you have these energies and these energetic systems, and how they move and how they balance, and how we also push through difficulties. Like, we need the tension in order to get to the other side, right? It's like the Ryan Holiday quote that says that the obstacle in the path is the path. You need the obstacle, right, in order for the resolution to come, right? It's like the oyster, right, and the irritant, that it's like not supposed to be there and it's causing trouble. But eventually that irritant is exactly what produces the pearl. So I don't know, this is so deep. I didn't mean for this to like get into these deep waters and stuff. So I hope I'm not like overdoing it. But that's the last thing, is to be more intentional about purpose and really directing energy towards the purpose, the unique purpose and assignment that you have in 2024. So that's it. And last thing, I wonder if anybody's seen the movie Maestro with Bradley Cooper. If so, let's talk. That was something that we watched last week for the New Year's, and it was so cool. I really loved it. And if you're not familiar with the Maestro, it's the story, a story of Leonard Bernstein. I say a story because this was like a multifaceted genius creator. And so this one story was the story of his relationship with his wife, essentially. I thought the acting was just unbelievable. Oh my gosh, Bradley Cooper so nailed the part of Bernstein. I was a student in New York when Bernstein was still alive. And Bernstein happened to live in the Dakota building, which was right across the street from my little studio apartment that I rented for $500 a month in those years. So it was unbelievable. So I had a chance, one of my special moments from those years was hearing the last concert that Bernstein conducted, and in the New York Philharmonic. And so anyway, I just heard of these legendary stories of Bernstein through my teacher, who went to a lot of those parties in the Dakota building and was among him, and all these other musicians and stuff. So it was a well-known circle. And anyway, I just loved the movie. Was so interesting. A lot of creativity behind that movie, and the integrity of bringing to life a man like Bernstein. My favorite scene in the movie was, and you have to see this, and I'm so happy that they prolonged this particular scene, was Bernstein conducting Mahler Resurrection Symphony. And you have to see it because the passion of that, like Bernstein is covered in sweat, and it's like, oh, whoa, this music was just ecstasy itself. And Bernstein was a guy that just was not afraid to like show it. And so it was like, oh, if you want to see a moment of like real passion in music, that is one of them. So anyway, hats off. Bradley Cooper is an absolute genius, an absolute genius. So yeah, that's Margaret's movie pick. Let me know if you've seen The Maestro. Let me know what you think. Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap it up here. Have a wonderful new year. I wish you all the best. These open doors to new dreams, new possibilities, much health, much abundance, much joy, much goodness in your life. I'll be back with a more knit-rich kind of podcast. I do want to do one about like all the things I knit last year, because there's a sizable amount and there's stories behind those knits. So I'll be doing that pretty soon. Vogue Knitting is coming up. If anybody is planning to go to Vogue Knitting, I'll be there on the Saturday. I hope to see you guys there. I don't have a booth or anything, but I'll be there. And I'm just so excited about 2023. Don't forget about the giveaway for the kit to make this bubble wrap. And just answer the question, what is the intent that you have for this year, like for the open door? A word, something that you're adding into your life, a new whatever, habit, a new practice, a new make, whatever it is. I'd love to hear it, and wishing you the most amazing of New Year's. Okay, so thanks for your patience. All this, like, this is what I'm talking about, the drippings from the brain pan. It's one of those episodes. Okay, I love you guys. Bye.